I think life is just one big trial and error. You know, it's like we just have to try all the things to figure out what works and what doesn't work. I mean, when it comes to food, right? We need to figure out what works for our body and what doesn't work for our body. And a lot of that means like there's error. We fail, like we try something and we figure out that, oh, no, that doesn't work. My body doesn't like that, right? Or parenting. Come on now. When it comes to parenting, it's just trying to figure out what is going to get through to each kid. Like each kid is different, and we got to try the different to figure out how to communicate to them and how to train them up and discipline them and teach them. It's all trial and error, it seems. When it comes to business, when it comes to marriage, and I don't mean like, changing partners, but when it like you got to figure out how to bond with them best in what season. You got to try all the different things on communicating. It's just trial and error. When it comes to ministry, when it comes to like figuring out what products best for your hair, what makeup you like, what style works for your body, like all of those things. It just seems like life is a big trial and error. And I feel like when we can come to terms with this, it's a lot easier to take risks, to try things. There's this like fear of failure that is constantly seeming to loom over us. We are constantly afraid to do things because we're afraid we're going to fail at it. And the truth is, yeah, we are going to fail. It's part of life. It's how we learn. We have to fail in order to learn what doesn't work, right? So that we can move on to something that does work. Failure is just a part of the process. And I feel like when we can kind of grasp this truth that it's okay to fail at things, that we need to fail at things, then we're able to get over the fear of it. We can know that we can get back up again. We can learn from it, that it's part of the journey. And we don't need to be afraid of failure. It's almost like it's necessary at times in order to build strength and maturity, right? I mean, we could just stay safe all the time and not try anything, right? And not do anything when it comes to relationships. Sure, just sit by yourself and not take a chance to get to know somebody because you might get hurt or that relationship might fail. Financially, we can stay safe and not try something new and see a new type of budget or a new type of investing. You never know. I mean, you could stay safe and just, bury it all, right? But we know that what happened in the story in the Bible when it came to the servant who buried his talents, his master's money, you might want to look that one up. Spiritually, we could stay safe if we want, but I mean, you could stay safe in the boat. And think about Peter. You remember Peter in the Bible where he was in the boat with the disciples and then Jesus came walking on the water and everybody stayed in the boat nice and safe, right? Except Peter. He stepped out of the boat and stinking walked on water. But he failed. I mean, he did fail, right? Like he took his eyes off Jesus and started to sink. So, I mean, but he walked on water. And what happened when he failed, you guys? Jesus reached down and saved him. He had faith enough to step out of the boat and he walked on water. And when the failure came, Jesus saved him. He just reached down and picked him up. And he said, "Oh, you of little faith," to Peter. But think about those people that were still in the boat that didn't even have the faith to step out on the waves. Oh man, would you consider Peter a failure there? I don't know. Okay, I want to talk about another time that Peter failed. Yeah, no, this was a failure. Do you remember in the garden when Jesus was taken, when Judas and the a detachment of soldiers came to take Jesus. I mean, this was 500 to 2,000 soldiers, fighters, men that came to track down Jesus. And Jesus says, "Who are you here for?" And they were like, "Jesus of Nazareth." And he's like, "Oh, that's me." He said, actually, he didn't say, "Oh, that's me." He said, "I am." You guys, he said, "I am." Many of the translations will say, "I am he," but he didn't say he. He said, "I am." He stated the name above all names. He stated God's holy, sacred, powerful name. And when he said, "I am," everybody fell to their knees. All the soldiers, everybody could not stand in the presence of Jesus when he said, "I am." And then he asked again, "Who are you here for?" And they answered him. They like, "Jesus." I'm sure they were quite terrified. And Jesus was ready to go with them at that point. And he was ready to be led away to do the will of his Father. And Peter gets this smart idea that he's thinking, you know what, this is my time. This is time I'm going to step out and I'm going to defend Jesus and I'm going to come to his aid and I'm going to do a great and mighty thing in Jesus' name. I've got this sword here that Jesus told me just a few hours ago that we're going to need. I'm going to use it. And so he goes up behind the high priest's assistant. He goes up behind an unarmed, untrained fighter, and he cuts off his ear. All in the name of defending Jesus. Because obviously Jesus couldn't defend himself after that huge display of power, right? So Peter, bless Peter's heart. He goes and he does something big and bold and brave, just hoping to do something for his Lord, except it really, well, it wasn't very smart. And it actually wasn't very brave, right? Like, behind the man, an unarmed man, untrained man. But listen to what Jesus does. Jesus goes up to Peter and he corrects Peter. He says, "Put away the sword, Peter. Now is not the time." And then he heals the ear. He heals and cleans up Peter's mess. Oh, when we can see how Jesus handles those times that we have messed up, those times that we have failed, when we can look back at that and see how gently Jesus treats us and how kind he really is to us when we do step out in faith and when we do something big, when we fail, he restores us. And he is kind to us and he is gentle to us and he uses our failures for his glory. I mean, here we are telling this story about Peter so many years after the fact. And what a testimony that servant of the high priest had. And everybody there who saw, I just wonder. We can just see a little bit of the way that God used Peter's failure there and what that must have done for Peter's growth as well. So I just want to encourage you that you don't need to be afraid of failing. You are going to fail. We're going to fail. It's part of life. It's part of learning and growing. And it's okay. It's okay to fail. And we have a great God who will do mighty things despite our failures. and he'll use them for his glory if we allow him to. Okay, I hope that that encourages you today. God bless, Godspeed, be brave, and go forth in faith. Love you, bye.